Harrington.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. Looking out to thank. I'm pleased to get the opportunity to speak to this motion and to thank at least most of the technical group for tabling the motion. I note from the motion that there are some signatures absent from the endorsement of this motion. Just wondering, did you consult with the lads? Did you not get around to it? Or did they just fundamentally disagree with the proposition? And I'd expect that was the latter, and therein lies a telling story of a populist, incoherent, fractured group, self-styled socialist that can barely agree on something as catch-all as a motion in opposition. It's long on anger, it's long on problems, comprehensive, with a sprinkle of fiction, well-written, but terribly short on answers, solutions or facts. This motion essentially calls for the reversal of the hard and unpopular decisions that essentially has rescued this country thanks to the sacrifices of the people and decisions taken by a government that has suffered because of it, but the country is recovering because of it. I've looked at the motion and I've looked on the premise that the motion is based on a survey of income and living conditions that the CSO has published based on 2013. And like Deputy Barry has said, 2013 was a little different to 2015, but at the same time we take the figures as they stand. We take the figures as they stand. And they looked at them. And a sub-headline, they did confirm deprivation up, but poverty rates unchanged. And you go further into their figures or into their conclusions, and it's clear from under most of their headings, poverty, for example, an analysis by socio-demographic characteristics showed that most at risk of poverty in 2013 were individuals who were unemployed. And deprivation, those describing their principal economic activities, 55% of them almost, were unemployed. Under consistent poverty, an analysis of consistent poverty rates by principal economic status shows that the consistent poverty rate was highest among individuals who were unemployed. And the solution, as tabled by the motion here, was to tax labour. In a country, and the Minister reminded us, that has the most proportionate tax system in the European OECD countries and the second most proportionate taxation system in all OECD countries. The solution to much of the problems that you have outlined in your motion is a route back to work. It's the route back to a sustainable and dignified employment. And in recognising that there are problems in much of our country, there are many problems with intergenerational unemployment. There are huge problems with jobless households. We recognise that. The solution to those is not in your motion. The solution to those is engaging in a case-by-case basis with those that need it the most. We can put up schemes, for example, like Jobs Plus, where employers can get a fund of up to €10,000 for long-term unemployed. And that will solve a lot of the problem. It won't solve the deepest parts of the problem. We recognise that, not recognised in this motion. We've heard evidence recently from, I think it was Task or other groups, about a very, very unequal income distribution system in this country. It's fundamentally wrong. They have taken figures as if there was no taxation system or no social protection system. And they said, yes, here we go, the highest earners in the country and the lowest earners in the country, there's an enormous gap. As if there was no taxation and no social protection. It is clearly wrong and designed to mislead. We have a huge transfer system, and we have a very, very punitive taxation system. Ireland is not a low-tax economy or a low-income tax country. It has the 5th highest tax jurisdiction for personal incomes in the European Union. And that, combined with a high unemployment rate, does not conclude that we should tax labour more. It doesn't. We should be taxing labour less. And about half of the taxpayers in this country are paying the marginal rate would benefit. And there would be a reward for work and there would be a reward for initiative. The motion instructs the Minister also to focus on taxes on wealth, profits and the top earners. Well, we have tax on profits, we've quite a lot of them, and we have high tax on the top earners. But the new feature, and this is an interesting tax on wealth, and let's examine that for a second. Your tax on wealth is a proposal essentially to tax assets, all assets, property, land, family possessions, heirlooms. For example, where I live, where you have people practically with fishing vessels that are high value, but earning very, very little for their owners or their deckhands. Many of them on subsistence earnings. Farm out buildings, shops, and I'm only throwing these out because we don't know. We have one or two of you saying wealth tax will be 1%, somebody else saying wealth tax will be 5%. Now, you can't. The gap between each of them is enormous. And if this is the coherent, agreed policy from a technical group, well, I think we have a problem here in terms of a political stability and an economic stability in the next year. We have an issue, and I'll talk about equality. You want to reverse? You want to reverse the water charges? You want to reverse the water charges?
Deputy, 1 minute.
One third of every household in this country do not connect to a public water supply. 1/3, 800,000 households, and they pay tax, quite a lot of it. And your proposal is to say you pay more tax for a service you will never get. And this isn't like public transport, for example, where everyone here agrees that you subsidise public transport through the taxation system. It's a good thing because it's good for the economy. But are you asking us to pay your ticket as well? And there's a good chance that everyone who pays tax will probably use public transport anyway. But 800,000 households will not connect to a public water supply, but you'll ask them to pay more tax to subsidise or to bring the investment up. Now, somebody please explain to me where there is equity, fairness or justice in that.
Thank you, Deputy.
I'm sorry. Just to conclude, Chairman, this government has brought a political stability, and that has been followed by an economic stability. There's a very definite correlation between both. Don't reverse it. Don't turn it around. We've come a long way. We've a long way to go in terms of getting this country back, but there's been a hard sacrifice by the Irish people, and it's beginning to pay dividend. And the motion says we reverse engines. I don't think it is.